Hello, I'm Shiko. I'm the Director of People and Culture at SF CASA. We're bringing you short audio stories from CASA so you can hear what it's really like to be a volunteer with us. In this part, The Origins, our Executive Director, Kate Durham, along with some volunteer advocates, explain the origin of CASA and why the organization exists here in San Francisco.
CASA started in Seattle, and it was started by a judge. And the judge had a very challenging case that he was having to make a determination on, a young child, I think under 5. And the judge having to make that incredibly difficult decision about whether or not to remove the child from the family. There were different perspectives that came into the courtroom about that. And he found he really wanted to understand the experience of the child. And he thought, wow, what if there were volunteers whose sole role was to uplift and share the experience of the child? And he decided to kind of test that concept. He put word out to the community to see if there would be any interest. And the story goes that he walked into a room and there were 50 people there that said, yes, we want to do this. And that's how CASA was born.
And people are still stepping up and saying, yes, we want to do this for all sorts of reasons. Here are some of the volunteers on why they decided to become CASAs.
I felt like I really wanted to be a little more rooted in where I lived.
My kids were getting a little bit older, and I was kind of looking in ways I could contribute and give back.
I was looking to give myself something to do, something that was actually going to make a difference in a world in which I felt a little helpless about things.
I was looking to do some volunteer work and came across SF CASA, and I got hooked right away.
Here's Kate again.
And now most counties in the country have a CASA program. And we consistently hear from judges that a CASA's voice and perspective is the one they pay attention to the most, because they're having to make determinations that will change a young person's life, often with never meeting the child. And so having the CASA's perspective is just so important in making that child dimensional for the judge.
CASA is an acronym, CASA, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate.
So a CASA is someone who gets to know a young person and advocates their interests and their needs in the court and in the community, really being that perspective in all the places that matter and the places where decisions are made.
The CASA gets to know a young person on a one-on-one basis and advocates for them in court hearings by writing court reports about their health, safety, relationships, or even education, all the aspects of their lives a judge might need to know to make determinations. And the CASA works with the other adults in their lives, social workers, lawyers, teachers, resource parents, or families to help provide support for the young person. But one of the most important parts of being a CASA is just being a consistent adult in the life of a young person who is often facing a lot of challenges.
I think the average is like 7 times that a young person might move while they're in care. Oftentimes, each of those moves comes with a school change. So imagine being a young person having to navigate so many relationships.
The CASAs see this up close.
So he is going into 5th grade, and he is in his 5th school.
So she was on her 2nd social worker.
I stopped counting at 10 social workers in 5 years.
How many lawyers, how many social workers? I want to say infinite.
Kate again.
And then I think at a certain point, you just stop trusting adults, right? You stop trusting that someone's truly there for you. And, there's a lot of research and understanding about the impact of one consistent, caring adult in a young person's life and the impact that can have on a young person's resilience, on their well-being, on their sense of being connected.
The study Kate is referencing came from Harvard Center on the Developing Child in 2015. It found that having one stable, committed adult looking out for a child can have massive effects. It can impact how well a young adult is able to overcome the challenges of a difficult, stressful childhood and thrive. So what makes an ideal CASA candidate?
First and foremost, interest and commitment. One thing that we really do work to convey in the info session and in the screening is that you've got to be in it for the long haul. It's a significant time commitment every week, every month. The last thing we want to do with a young person who's already experienced a lot of adults coming in and out of their lives, we don't want to introduce them to another adult that may not stick with them.
The general CASA guideline is an 18-month commitment, and CASAs are expected to spend time weekly with a young person that they serve to develop that relationship. And when the time is invested, the CASA relationship can have profound impact.
I think kids who don't have a CASA, don't have this intervention, you kind of lose your dreaming muscle because you just keep getting disappointed. I like to think that a CASA is often holding up a mirror for a young person, reflecting back their strengths, their dreams, until a young person can hold that mirror for themselves and think about what might be possible for them.
And SF CASA is always looking for volunteers who want to be a part of a young person's life. We almost always have youth on the wait list waiting to be paired with a CASA. Please visit sfcasa.org to learn more about volunteering as a CASA or sign up for a virtual info session.